Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar. We are going to discuss today how you can retain new customers after a spike in user acquisition. Joining us, we have two guest speakers. We have Aysel from Hepsiburada and Casper from Gumtree. If you'd like to introduce yourselves, guys, a little bit more about what you do at your companies, we can start with Casper.
Yeah, hi everyone. I have been at Gumtree for just over a year and a half now. I work in the global growth team, which means we're working on both paid digital strategies, retargeting strategies, and more recently I've taken on a bigger app store optimization project in collaboration with AppFollow, which is hence why the invitation to be part of this panel today.
Wonderful, thanks for that. And Aysel, how's it going?
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Aysel and I'm working as a mobile growth marketing specialist at Hepsiburada. So Hepsiburada is a largest e-commerce company in Turkey, and we are in the surrounding region as well. Also the first Turkish company which has ever been listed on NASDAQ. And also we are working with the AppFollow with the ESO project. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So now we'll just get on to something about the agenda. So how we're going to structure this webinar will be an introduction on the art of retention and user engagement. So that will be a few points from our side, just to sort of give an overview of some of the trends that we're seeing at AppFollow in regards to that. We'll then talk about user influxes or dealing with user acquisition generally. So we'll be talking with our guest speakers about best practices, the need to knows, how they plan their team and organize with their team, and some of the methods that they've learned along the way. We'll then be going on to talk about churn. How do you keep users coming back long after an acquisition spike or just acquisition generally? And then we'll be going on to the biggest challenges and trends facing good selling apps in 2022. Some of the trends that our experts on the panel are seeing and what they are predicting for next year. The final thing we'll be talking about is AppFollow's industry report. So this will be a dig into the data of our recent report around reputation management in dealing with reviews and ratings on the app stores. So to start off, we are going to have a little look at the art of retention and engagement. So some of the trends that we're seeing at the moment around shopping, e-commerce, and good selling apps in general are as follows, which is the personalized shopping experience, which is the unique provision of experiences across marketplaces and the platform, all the way to checkout, the development of user loyalty, more investment in the brand over performance marketing. This includes number 6, which is the creation of authentic and relevant content that powers and develops your brand. More engagement and more sophisticated engagement with customers wherever they are. So this is across multiple channels, including user reviews, social media, online communities, and even in real life. We've also seen, it's a time immemorial kind of thing that's been done, but the leveraging of seasonal spikes. I know that Hepsiburada are quite on the case with Black Friday, which we'll discuss at some point. Yeah, that's some of the things that we've been seeing. So to start off with, let's talk about preparing for the wave. So this is essentially talking about user acquisition. How do you manage and tackle differences around user acquisition that you've experienced over time? We know that new users are less likely to purchase at the beginning of their time of being acquired, and it's known that it's between 5% and 20% is the prospect of selling to those new users. So in regards to our panelists, what are your best practices in ensuring that you will more successfully sell to new acquisition and ensure that gets to that point? I think we could start with Aysel.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So I would say, like, as a mobile growth team, marketing team, we gather all the campaign related information and team before the campaign time arrives, from the creative team, when it comes to like banners, videos, text, etc., and main campaign categories from our category managers. Then, according to our main strategy and KPI was given, we are setting the campaigns in different channels of ours. When we analyze our budget, we tend to look at the previous metrics of these specific channels in order to allocate our budget most effectively. And we categorize our campaigns as install engagement campaigns, like 2 different main campaigns actually. And install campaigns are of course, for the customers which have not been installed the app, and engagement campaigns for already existing customer base. The best practices for us to show hot deals for increasing the app installs and promoting the deals for doing it with the optimized feeds. Since we are running all our campaigns with the Marketing 360 approach, the best we can do is run the correct campaigns with correct banners and messaging. Yeah, this is the most important thing for us at the moment. Also, we can live without, of course, with the good effective communication between different teams and stakeholders, also with the customers and customers to bees. Yeah, on the other hand, we are planning our app store optimizations with the campaigns as well, like keyword selections, semantic core optimizations, all the creatives that we have as dual screen, and at the same time, the icon changes for this special time of the year. So yeah.
Interesting, and I suppose that's sort of ensuring that you're building assets and optimizing to target key personas that are actually have higher intent in regards to when they do download your app and they go onto it, that they will get to a point where they're actually looking for things to buy. So that's a really, really interesting point that you've sort of put out there. I suppose we could get Casper's opinion on the side of Gumtree. How do Gumtree deal with sort of user acquisition and ensure that success is the sort of end result?
Yeah, definitely. So just to set the scene a little bit on Gumtree, so obviously it's a marketplace, so we don't actually sell any physical goods. We're more a facilitator site. So, but we do run a number of different apps install campaigns, Apple search ads, etc., to gain users to our apps. And we're obviously also running app store optimization programs in order to attract as many organic users as possible. However, the brand being such a mature brand, there's obviously a number of different brands within the umbrella of Gumtree, but in general, most of those brands are very mature, so there's not very many spikes in our user acquisition. We do have a lot of focus on retention, though. We're running a large number of retention campaigns. There's 2 reasons for that. One, it's much cheaper for us to run retention campaigns as opposed to acquisition campaigns. And there's also been a lot of research going into the sweet spot where we need to, like, where does the user get completely lost for us? So that kind of feeds into our planning and strategy in terms of planning the campaigns for retention. That said, there's obviously a number of different teams within the organization. There's CRM teams, there's data teams, there's acquisition teams, there's retargeting teams, etc. So there's, broadly speaking, there's lots of work going into working on all these strategies. And I think in the longer term, obviously the goal is to work on something a bit more holistic across the board that kind of combines all these different channels into one combined strategy for both acquisition and retention. Because as our audience matures, obviously we will need to have more focus on acquisition as well. So, but yeah, as it stands right now, we're not running that's not a whole huge amount of focus on acquisition on our side. It's more of on the retention side.
Nice. And obviously the retention side we'll be talking about, I think, in a moment. And I think that's a really interesting point that, you know, a certain area and certain stage of a company's life, or where it is, it might have a different method of growth, essentially. And I think what I kind of wanted to ask in terms of that holistic approach that you were talking about, at what point was it that you sort of realized that that was something you wanted to do as a company? Was it something that happened, or some like results that were showing, or was it just a company decision to decide that that was just the best thing to try going forward?
Well, I've only been with the company since July last year, so I can't speak for when it actually started. It's been going on all the time I've been there. Okay. Obviously, the sunsetting of third-party cookies and all this privacy talks, etc., that are going on and that are continuously evolving to become even more strict, have kind of fed into that strategy of maybe being sped up a little bit. There's lots of work going into how we can monetize our data, because obviously being such a huge organization, quite mature organization, we do have a huge amount of data that we are quite proud that it's in a good place, and it's in a place where we can actually start using it for various different campaigns. Especially, there's quite a few efforts in terms of CRM campaigns going on in different markets. So yeah, I would say definitely in the last few years there's been increasing focus on the data side.
Interesting. Really interesting. Thanks for that. In terms of like when you're organizing your team or collaborating with your team, in terms of dealing with an influx of acquisition, I suppose, Aisel, you're probably the best to answer this question. But how do you ensure that you're best prepared and organized as a team for when there's a seasonal boom, for example? Let's just say Black Friday. How do you organize and prepare for that?
I mean, the main thing actually is just communicate all the time. I think it's the most important thing. Other than that, like plan ahead everything. Other than that, like just help. I mean, ask for help if it's technical problem from the tech teams, of course. So I mean, it's just like making the right collaborations at the right time, and if it's necessary, check everything like maybe hourly basis, especially in the Friday period. Right. I think it's really important for us to just keep maintaining the great service, great products for our customers. So yeah, I think this is probably overall my opinion.
Great, thank you for that. And I suppose for both of you, one of the final sort of topics we can sort of cover here is, you know, from a sort of creation, marketing and ASO perspective, how do you effectively target your audience? Are there any like key learnings that you've got in terms of your space and what you need to do going forward? I think we can start with Casper. Yeah.
From our SAR point of view, it's fairly broad targeting. We'll work on different categories and do retargeting obviously within different categories. So say someone has been shown a lot of interest in baby clothes, we obviously won't show them cars, for example. But other than that, there's not a huge amount of settings in terms of targeting. However, we have run a number of different test campaigns to test different segments, age groups, especially on the acquisition side. It's been some good insights for us to learn what segment, like what does it cost to bring back a certain segment. And obviously that also gives us an insight to what our audience looks like, how old are these people that we're targeting, etc. So, but not like in general, we're very category focused and very like it's either goods, cars, etc. but or real estate. But,
got you. And so I suppose for you, it's more sort of targeted approach in regards to your audience. But how exactly do you sort of like prepare a plan for that?
So we usually tend to go for categorizing the campaigns as well at the same time, because like we have like different type of categories from FMCG to I don't know, just like baby, mother, etc. So we have like tons of different categories. So we are just tend to do that. But at the same time, we would like to do it with different feeds that we have, like maybe purchaser, non-purchaser, etc. So yeah, we're using like different categories and different feeds in a technical base, I would say.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. I think we can go on to the next topic, which it runs smoothly from what Casper was mentioned before, which is churn and retention, choosing that path. And essentially what we know is that, you know, when you do develop a loyal customer base, they're going to be spending more than new acquisition. That's just, you know, common knowledge in terms of what research has shown and what companies have seen. And I think one of the questions, I suppose it makes sense to start with you, Casper, is what do you include in your strategy to prevent user churn and to ensure retention? At just a very sort of, I suppose we can start at a quite general point here.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, timing is really everything for us, and there's been a lot of research going into that on our side. So we've learned that obviously, maybe it's logical for everyone, but the user's obviously more hot in the first few days after they've been to the site. So that's also where most of our efforts go. And then the further away from their visit they come, the more likely they are to actually end up churning. So yeah, definitely at the start of after a user's been to our site is our main and key focus when we're doing our retargeting campaigns. And to Aisel's point before, we're also using different feeds and different product feeds, etc., to be able to do more customized targeting in that sense. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, and it's sort of a good starting point to have this in this topic, I suppose. And I think in terms of you know, encouraging people to come back, are there any specific methods outside of what you've mentioned that you're doing it to encourage users to come back to the platform instead of, let's say they might be going between competitors thinking about which one to pick? How do you encourage them to come back to yours?
Well, I think for us, it's more of a branding exercise. We've got to stay top mind of people's minds when they're ready to purchase. And it's obviously for us, it's about supply demand. If we can't supply what the user is looking for, then they will be buying from us, I suppose. I'm just speaking logically from my own point of view. If I was a user, like if I was looking for a specific thing and I found it on Facebook Marketplace, I'd buy it there if I couldn't find it on Gumtree UK. But at the same time, obviously, I think our most important thing in this case is to make sure we're as trustworthy as possible, and obviously make sure we don't have a reputation of being a site that has a lot of scam going on, because obviously we're an industry that's quite prone to scam, where people will pretend to sell things and take people's money, etc. I'm not saying it happens that much. I've never had an experience like that, but obviously it's a side effect of private people selling to other private people. And it's also reflected in our reviews. Like most of our reviews in app stores, etc., is about these experiences that people unfortunately have sometimes when they're doing these private sales. So I think that's really the key thing for us, that we've got to maintain this trust with our users, that they trust that they're not going to be scammed basically when they're shopping through us. So that's also on us to develop our product further, make sure we're as safe a space to shop in as possible, that the transactions are as safe as possible, and working on different transaction solutions, etc. So yeah, to that end, I think for us, it's more like a branding and a perception exercise rather than it's traditional e-commerce where you can throw a discount at people, or you can, I don't know, talk about your Black Friday sale, etc. Yeah.
And I suppose just a quick follow-up question on that is, it's interesting that you brought up reviews, because obviously the avenue that you can get from responding to reviews and communicating with your customers allows you to set those, set expectations around what you can and what is and what isn't in your control, and then control the damage that might happen in case that does happen, in terms of scams and people selling what they're claiming, what they're not claiming that they're selling. So I think that's an interesting point, is that almost brand management around what the reviews are being left and how you sort of tackle those. I suppose, Aisel, on the side of Hepsiburada, how do they, what strategies do you are you sort of involved with in terms of reducing user churn and ensuring that you have that higher customer lifetime value?
So basically, yeah, I mean, I actually agree what all of things that Casper said earlier. I think it's very critical to keep active customer base as it is, especially after the biggest campaign of the year, I would say, especially in for the Hepsiburada. So the best practice will be to keep everything warm with upcoming campaigns. With, again, maybe unbeatable deals in variety of products, and of course the quality of the service for the customers will get from Hepsiburada. I think it just makes them like stay active and being loyal customers overall. But for in order to like prevent them to churn, we do run engagement campaigns. And again, like we divide our customer base as like non-purchaser and purchaser with the event analysis that we are doing. And just try to keep them in the funnel, basically, also with the CRM push campaigns as well. I think preventing the churn, the best we can do with the engagement campaigns and the feed optimizations that we have. Yeah, probably that's it.
Nice, and it's interesting that it's just something that you said about splitting the customers into different segments.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably quite an important thing to understand how to sort of tweak your process and keeping them engaged according to who they are and what they want out of your platform. I suppose the last question for this is customer loyalty. Is there anything that you're doing in terms of maintaining that customer loyalty, making the customers feel like they want to come back and use your platform, and essentially maintain that retention?
Yeah, I think customer loyalty, it's kind of, how do you say, complex content. So I would say, of course, the quality of the service, the products that we are delivering, everything is just all together. But at the same time, I think this is something that we are trying to do with app reviews, reviewing them constantly, and of course, like responding them. And just try to build this loyalty with the customers and everything. I think it's the biggest thing that we can do at the moment as Hepsiburada, as a company overall. So yeah, this is what I'm thinking.
Well, thank you for that. I think we could go on to the next topic, which is key trends in 2022. So, as we've all been through it, the global pandemic, subsequent lockdowns, it's had a big effect on us and the world and the digital landscape, and especially the app ecosystem. It's really exponentially increased the amount of usage and the growth potential for applications on the app stores. But it's also changed consumer behavior. Consumers have got more used to convenience and comfort and easy delivery, safe collections, speedy collection, that kind of thing. So I think one of the questions I wanted to ask either of you, if you had an opinion on this, was, with this in mind, how important is that the personal shopping experience, and is that something that you believe is meeting consumer need at the moment with this change of behavior?
Mm-hmm. I can take it. To be honest, like at Hepsiburada, we are trying to do it constantly, like personalized shopping experiences, because we know that it's very important for the customers, and especially we are doing with the cosmetic products at the moment. We have a new extension called See It On Your Face. Basically, you can see all the makeup related products on your face right away from the app. So we can try to, I mean, we do have at the same time like different type of personalized shopping experience like that, that you can see on yourself, how it's going to look like and so on. But this is something that I can just constantly, I can say like immediately name it. But yeah, I think it's very important, and it's going to be more important when time is just passing.
Nice. That's such an interesting thing, like that interactive element of being able to see how the makeup looks in your face, so you can sort of almost like test it virtually before you buy it. And I think that is, a really good element of this personalized experience that, it's a bit of a buzzword in a way, because it's everyone's talking about it, but to actually see that being applied, effectively from what you've said is a really interesting part of that. I suppose in terms of other trends that you're seeing in the e-commerce space or the marketplace, sort of, and the shopping apps category, what other trends have you seen in regards to consumer behavior that may be of interest?
I mean, from my point of view, what I see, like of course, like personalized things when it comes to like try it on some, I don't know, products on yourself, like maybe a t-shirt or a shoe or something like that we are seeing constantly on the trend as a trend. Yeah, I mean, other than that, like I don't know what will be the other trends that we are seeing at the moment. Like this is something that I just come up with immediately.
Yeah. What about you, Casper? Is there anything that you've sort of seen around that sort of spiked your interest and might be something that you're forecasting or looking to?
Maybe outside of the marketplace completely in general, in terms of consumers, I think there's going to be a much more important factor in terms of the environment, the packaging, the conscious consumer. I can definitely see it among my friends now that, like, we're all in our 30s. We've got a decent disposable income, and all this stuff becomes more and more important. And I think there's a huge segment in their 30s, 40s now that will demand more and more from companies. Obviously not everyone, but I feel like it's going to become more and more of a thing that if you're not, but there's also a fine line, because obviously you can't brag about it. You got to do it in a very authentic way, because otherwise it's just going to look fake, and as if you're just paying for a green look. But I think that's definitely going to become more and more important for consumers, especially in my segment, in the 30-40 segment.
Right. So it's like adding that sort of social impact element to the brand, and instead of just, for the example of like being green, it's instead of greenwashing, as they say, it's actually, applying it to your brand as part of its identity, almost in a more, sophisticated way. Thank you for that. That was a really interesting point. And I suppose we could go straight onto the industry report findings, but before we go into that, there was a question that we had for you, Asil, is the personalization approach that you've had in that makeup element, which is, it's sort of kept on my mind. And I suppose from the results you're seeing with that, do you think the efforts to have implemented that and put that together and promote it, have you seen any like positive outcomes of it in terms of retention and acquisition? Has that had any good results?
Yes, of course. I mean, we see the positive impact, of course, because of the COVID. You can actually go to drugstores or anything like Sephora. You cannot really test it anything at the moment because of the COVID restrictions. So I think it's just very helpful to, especially for the women, to see the makeup products which they would like to buy it, to see it on their faces at first and see. Then do the shopping accordingly. So what we've been seeing, like since then, like one of our categories, like cosmetic, is just like, how do you say, the purchases are increasing.
Okay.
Definitely we see the positive results that we have this like, how do you say, the makeup extension lens that we have at the moment for those products are just giving us more better purchase rates. So definitely we are seeing the positive results of it.
Nice, wonderful. And just a general question to either of you, what at the top of your head, what would you say is harder, user acquisition or retention? I suppose Casper can answer that.
Well, based on what I said previously about the cost of acquisition campaigns, I think it's easier to retain people as opposed to acquiring. Would be my answer to that. Purely based on the cost of acquiring new users, but also the cost of turning that user into a loyal customer is quite a costly and lengthy process. Like, just because you get someone in once doesn't mean they're actually gonna, like, sometimes when we've done acquisition campaigns and we've followed some of these users down the line, it doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna become a loyal customer. It means they might just churn. So there might be more value in us in retaining a user who is already with us.
Interesting. Thanks for
that. But
that.
obviously, for the survival of our business, we will need to put some effort into acquiring new users too, for customers.
Nice. And what about you, Isel? Do you agree, or do you difference of opinion?
Yeah, I definitely agree, because this is also something that we are experiencing at the moment. Like retaining already existing customer base easier. And of course, like just trying to reach out with the new customers, it's always a little bit harder, I would say. So I definitely agree this point of view, and it's just definitely harder to acquire new users and make them install the app for the first time. So yeah.
Nice. Thank you for that. So I think we can finally go on to the industry report findings. So obviously the report looked at all categories across the app stores. But what was specifically quite interesting, and especially quite interesting, I should actually say, about the findings was in the shopping app category. And what we found is that in terms of shopping apps average ratings by review, so this is reviews, ratings with reviews, on the App Store, the average rating was about 3.1, which is, in regards to the category as a whole, is quite low. And I just thought it's a good starting point to sort of have a quick discussion about like what you guys think about that. Is that a shock or a surprise to you? Casper, I know we spoke about this before, so I suppose we could start with you. Like, was this a surprise for you? Is it something that you expected or didn't expect?
It's not really surprising. I think, as I mentioned before, a lot of our reviews are around scam experiences. I would say how also just in general, and from a personal point of view, if there's anything that can make me angry, it's a bad shopping experience. So I think that also quickly sends people off into a tantrum, and they'll go and make these bad reviews. Like, I think it's just it's really an emotional process for a lot of people. So I'm not really surprised that people are leaving a bad review if they've had a bad experience. But similarly, you might not be that because you will kind of take it for granted that you're going to have a good experience. I wouldn't necessarily personally go and make a review of ASOS if I've bought a pair of jeans and they came really fast. Like, that wouldn't prompt me to make a review. It would prompt me if they came 2 weeks late and they charged me twice or something like that.
And in terms of like that being the case, how do you do damage control? Because obviously it's going to happen no matter what you do. There are going to be when a merchant doesn't do what you're hoping them to do as merchants, and someone leaves an angry review. How would you manage that?
Well, at the moment we're not doing a whole lot to manage it. We definitely should be managing it, but it's a work in progress to get the resources and get the attention to the problem. And being a big organization, things don't move that fast when there's something you want to happen. It just in a small agile organization, you can make these things happen overnight or in a few weeks, but not in a large organization. You can't make it happen that quickly. And also to the point of them being about a bad shopping experience or about a scam, it's not really it's a little bit out of our hands. We could obviously send some nice words and some, I don't know, we could maybe the 3 biggest tips to avoid a scam, or we could do a little bit of this, I suppose, but at the end of the day, we can't really completely rule out any risk of of something like that happening, because there'll always be someone out there who's going to try and scam someone, I suppose. I think it's
part of the whole way the business is, really. It's like that risk there. And I suppose, this takes us to the next point, which is the average response rate, which is, it's kind of been explained sort of already by what you said, Casper, about, there being so many reviews there that it's just probably quite hard to sort of give a response to anyway. In terms of Hepsiburada, though, Asa, what do you do in terms of like trying to ensure that those who do leave a review with valuable feedback or valuable points in the reviews are getting a response?
So we do have like entire different team for the reviews and like answering to reviews and everything. So they're professional communication professionals, so they knew exactly what they should do. Of course, with Casper said, like, it's hard to control everything there regarding like the user reviews and experiences and so on, because like there are so many factors involved in the situation. So we try to be like be positive as much as we can, I think, and just in order to make them if it's like a bad reviews or something like that, we try to come up with the solutions if their next shopping experience is changing and into like positive direction and so on. Yeah, we try to just come up with a solution, whether it's bad review or the review. The professionals all the time like try to help the people just change if it's bad experience, it's just changing in the future with the good one. So yeah, this is currently it overall.
Thank you for that. I suppose we could another interesting point of the report was that it takes an average about 7 days for a shopping app to reply to reviews, which is quite a long time. And I think that sort of plays against, excluding the reviews that don't have much value or don't provide enough information for the team to give a useful response. It's still quite a long time to sort of respond to users, especially with the expectations that consumers have these days of that instantaneous support. I suppose that's sort of like we can sort of end it there, really. I think we sort of covered these points, and the sort of as a final sort of discussion, I suppose I'd like to ask both of you, have there been any recent campaigns that you're like really proud of, or it's had a memorable result, something that you sort of always think back to and sort of take inspiration from? I suppose we could start with Asa.
Sure. Of course, it's a Black Friday period, and we already started in Turkey with our warm-up campaigns. So we call it as like Legendary November for this month. And we have like different type of campaigns at the moment. Now we have like a big 11 campaign going on. And what I can say for the all this Black Friday month campaign structure, we do have a new, positive campaign type, which is you can buy it now, but you can start to pay starting from January 2022. So yeah, currently they don't have to pay anything if they have to like purchase anything, if they need something, like especially for technological devices like a TV, laptop, something like that. It's like more, expensive side. But they don't have to pay it right away. They can just order it now and start to pay starting from January 1st. So this is something new, and it's just like an easier solution for them to pay, for the customers to pay in the future, upcoming months. They don't have to think about it at the moment. So it's something that we did with the agreement with the banks and of course with the our customer base as well. So it's something that I'm definitely happy to be able to have it for our customers as well. So yeah, I think this is a perfect example, and it's quite live example at the moment. So yeah, that I can share it immediately.
Yeah, that's it'll be interesting to see how that sort of comes into play and the outcome of that, you know, especially with all these like you know buy now pay later trends as well in the around the industry. And I suppose, Casper, what are there any particular moments or campaigns or successes that you sort of like always think back to or are planning to do in the future or hoping to achieve in the future that is quite interesting?
I would have to be a future one. I haven't been with the company long enough to have finished any projects, but I would say the work that's going into unifying our data and centralizing all our data from all the different markets is definitely a project that everyone is proud of, and something that's gonna, I expect, benefit us a lot in the future when we manage to get it all into a good place, and we're in a place where we can actually monetize it, like activate it, send out audiences to different channels, all this stuff. That will be a good day once that happens, but it might be a little bit away in the future. So it'll have to be that as a future goal, to get all our data into a good place, to activate it and create, as I mentioned in the beginning, a bit of a more holistic approach between CRM and paid, because I think definitely CRM is going to become so important in the next few years.
Nice. So it's like a big work in progress, but
Hello?
hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, sorry about that. It's something must have happened with the internet in my area. A bit annoying. Anyway, so yeah, I suppose we could close it off with that internet connection problem. It was a bit of a moment there, but thank you all for joining us today. Thank you so much for our speakers for taking part. Again, apologies for the internet problem there. I suppose what I can say now is we'll be sending a follow-up email to all you attendees with a exclusive shopping category report. I'm not going to tell you what's in it, but when you get it, you can have a look. It's something that our consulting team has been working on, and something that only you will have access to for quite a long time. And we'll be sending a copy of the presentation. So again, thank you so much for joining, and have a wonderful day. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Bye now.
Thanks for having us. Bye.